now we are in our second big topic. So we have already been talking about the distances and speeds we've been going. Now, in our Himiway records, we have the rankings of those that have the various different distances. Now, there is one man in particular, a gentleman called Ron, who is in first place with his distance. Now, can you write down on your boards what you think his distance might be? So this is the first ranked in distance at Himiway. Very good. Now, can Ryan please show your answer to the camera?
Yeah. Got 8,000 miles.
So you reckon 8,000 miles. Gary, what about you? What do you think?
6,000.
All right, that's fair. Right, now, let's go get the actual details. So, can I please have my lovely board carrier? Now, this gentleman is Ron, or it's a depiction of Ron, because Ron doesn't like to show his face. He's too busy writing. Now, I'm going to tell you, in fact, Ron's specs. So, Ron is 65 years old. He has been riding for 20 months, 600 days. Not only that, but he's had 3 falls. Bam, oh dear. On top of this, 6 flats. So Gary, yes, very good idea with the spare tires there. And he's been riding 16 miles per day, which leads us to our grand total. Now, what distance do you think that he's done? We've got 8,000 miles, 6,000. It was actually 10,000 miles.
Wow.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
That's impressive.
Can you see yourselves doing such a thing?
It's going to take a while.
Maybe if I lost a few kids, I would have more time for that.
That sounds either really inspirational or really grim.
Maybe. I love my kids. I love my kids.
Now, on top of this, there's a lot of bonuses to this. So he doesn't ride a car, he's just going to and from only on his bike. Now, if we can swap onto our next board, just give that a drop and let that fall to the floor. Now, what do you think the distance is along the United States he can get between the two? So he's rode 10,000 miles. How far do you think he can go along the United States from LA to New York?
Going one way.
So just once?
We're back.
Let's say just how far you can get with 10,000 miles. Folks at home may know the answer.
From LA to New York.
Yeah. So it's 10,000 miles, and the US is a certain amount of miles. I'm new to the US, so I'm still working on details there. What do you reckon? How many times can he go from LA to New York?
5.
5 times. So you reckon that he's riding 5 times across?
I think he can go 5 times.
Gary?
3.6.
Well, you are very positive-minded people, but is actually 1.8.
1.8 times, okay.
Roughly. Now, should I make this bigger? There we go. 1.8 times you can go from LA to New York. So he may need to have a bit of a rest on that stop. Can we have the next board, please? We are very worried about the environment, the world. Scary things like carbon, global warming. Right, so we're going to be taking a look at Ron's first rank at 10,000 miles, and I would like you to take a guess at some of the statistics behind it. So with 10,000 miles, how many units of carbon, or how many tons of carbon, do you think that Ron has managed to reduce?
It should be CO2.
CO2.
Yeah, not carbon.
Gentlemen, CO2, rather, than carbon. So how many tons of CO2? This is why we have an environmentalist on the show, to make sure that the host doesn't screw up. Yes, how many tons of CO2 can Ron reduce with 10,000 miles? Please write down. Right then, gentlemen, can you please reveal your guesses? Ryan, how many tons?
Yes, my very uneducated guess is 20 tons.
Very optimistic. Lovely. And Gary, how many tons?
I'd say about 4 tons.
4 tons. In actuality, we have got 2.7 to 5 tons, which has been awfully smudged due to in-house lighting. Woohoo, thank you. Just a little 2 there. And a little smiley face just to keep it light. Now, yes, 2.7 to 5 tons. Now, our environmental expert here, Gary, can you tell us why there's such a big discrepancy here between 2.7 and 5 tons?
Yeah, it's based on the amount of miles per gallon you get from the different vehicles. They vary, like any theoretical calculation. And the 2.7 to 5 tons, depending on which set of numbers you use for, based on the miles per gallon, you get a different number in the amount of emissions. The emissions vary from vehicle to vehicle as well, so kind of what you do is take an average.
That's interesting. I'm still learning about the whole freedom units as I've only recently been coming to the States. Now, next board, please. I'll give you a hand with that. Meow. Right, so trees. Now, how many trees do you reckon will equal out the CO2 emissions with 10,000 miles? So can you please have a write down? Give us your guess. How many trees to equalize the CO2? Ryan, if you please, have a switch.
I think 60 trees.
60 trees. Now, Gary, could you please show us yours?
Yeah, I've calculated it's about more or less 185 trees.
Whoa. Good job, Ryan. Bam, yes, 185 trees. I promise we'll get better stickies in the next one. Right then, thank you very much, No, for coming on and holding the boards for us. And I swear whoever wrote this bit, I will have a serious talk that involves shotguns after this. Are you particularly concerned about COVID at this point in your day-to-day lives? Are you still keeping precautions, like wearing masks, like washing your hands?
Of course, wash out all the hands.
How many hands do you have?
Too many.
Would you recommend a Himiway bike to someone who is disabled? Generally on the spectrum.
Absolutely. Absolutely, no question.